Yeah, get the pipes going. La, 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 la. All right.
Welcome to Block Party. I'm John.
I'm Danny.
And Joey is stuck in a drum circle right now. You know, he was trying to get out, but it's a circle. So he's just
Was he drumming?
drumming and going around.
He did have a drum.
Yeah, I think so.
Was it a hand drum?
I don't know.
Well, anyways, stick around. On this episode, we're going to be showing you how to get a great capture with your game board.
Tips and tricks. This is Block Party. Well, before we start capturing, we gotta build something.
Yeah.
So we gotta decide what we're gonna build.
How do we decide who decides what we're going to build?
Ooh.
Should we decide who we decide, or should we just decide as a team?
We can decide as a team.
We can decide as a
I mean,
team,
normally
as a
we
team.
battle it out on this show, but
Yeah, let's be civil.
Join
about
up.
it. Think about it here. Well, let's pick a character and make a coin for that character.
Okay. Could we make Johann Sebastian Bloch's coin?
Sure. What would his coin be?
What would Johann Sebastian Bloch's coin be?
He's a party animal.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I feel like
Maybe he'd like
some party snacks.
party snacks. Yeah.
Yeah, like some chips, or
Little cocktail weenies.
cocktail weenies. Those really give you a boost.
Yeah. Cocktail weenies. You got punch.
Yeah.
Yeah, punch. Cake. Obviously cake. We've never made a cake.
We could do a cake.
We could do a great cake.
Could we do a great cake?
We could do a great cake. Look at all these colors.
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. There's a cake.
Good looking cake.
Yeah, I like it. That's a good power up for old Johann.
Oh yeah, Johann's gonna eat that up.
What?
He's gonna eat that up.
What? I don't get it. It's a power up.
It's just like he's a cake.
It's gonna
You eat
that.
cake.
Yeah.
When you like something, you eat it up.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Was it a bad pun?
no, it was just like.
It was just like. All right. Anyway, so on to Block Party's capture tips. We're gonna capture this cake. We're gonna start with tip number 1, which is
Make sure all 4 corners of your game board are visible within the capture window. A common mistake is to get the camera just a little too close to the game board like this, and
you can even see everything sometimes.
yeah, you gotta back up just a little bit further sometimes and make sure that the camera, boom, just like that. Make sure the camera can see all 4 corners of the game board. So on our white table here, you can see all 4 of the black game board corners in the capture window, and boom, it got it right away.
Right away, super fast.
All right, now tip number 2, make sure the lighting conditions in the room that you're capturing in aren't too bright or too dark. So this is what it looks like when your lights are a little too dark. It's actually not too dark to the eye. Like the camera, it looks pretty dark in here. You can hardly even really see our faces, but like if you're just hanging out in this room with us right now, you'd be like, oh, this is like a
you got a little lamp back there.
Yeah, dimly lit living room.
You could be watching a movie.
Yeah, it's a pretty normal circumstance, so you might find yourself trying to capture your game board in this kind of lighting condition. So let's try it.
And you can see the device sees that there's something there, so you might not even think it's that weird, but then you can see the capture.
It can't quite do it.
It thought there was some orange in there.
Yeah,
It looks
there's
like
no
a weird
orange in there.
rocket ship,
That's,
maybe.
yeah, I don't even know what that is.
Who knows?
Yeah, let's try that one more time, just to make sure we're not crazy. Yeah, that's better, but
It's
that's
definitely better.
That's
but still
definitely not a cake.
Not great.
No.
So yeah, you can tell a little bit too dark, you're gonna have some problems.
Yeah. All right, tip number 3.
3.
Make sure there's not a harsh glare on the surface that your game board is sitting on. So the light in our studio here is right above and in front of us. So if we position our mobile device right here where you'd want to capture your board, you might get a little bit of glare coming off the top of those blocks.
So yeah, you can see here, it's just having a hard time getting those blocks. That glare is just popping right off of it here.
Yeah.
And then we'll get right above it here. Get to a good spot where we're not getting that light bouncing right back into it. And good.
Boom.
Problem solved.
Yeah, you don't want the glare. So tip number 4 is you want to capture the game board at just a slightly low angle. So you don't want to be straight overhead. You want to be a little bit lower, which actually makes it a little bit easier. Here you go.
So just coming off at a slight angle.
Yeah, just a little bit low, and it'll capture it really well pretty much every time. So
you don't want to come like all cornered either.
yeah, you don't want to be off to the side. you don't want to come at it from one of these weird angles where it's just not gonna know what to do with where your blocks are. You want to be still straight on, but just a little bit lower than straight overhead. Boom, beautiful.
Beautiful.
Tip number 5, make sure you're capturing on a plain, medium colored surface.
Now, a white surface like ours will work,
Yeah.
but when combined with some of the other things we talked about, like the really bright lights or anything like that, you could have a hard time. We are in a very controlled environment here.
Optimal lighting conditions, so it does tend to work pretty well on our white table, but it might not work very well on yours. So just make sure that the table doesn't have like a wood grain on it or something.
Lots of clutter.
Yeah, clutter's bad.
Patterns
And stuff. That's really gonna throw off the capture. You want it to be as plain as you can.
So even on a plain dark surface like this black one here, it's gonna do fine. Or it should do pretty well with good lighting conditions. You can see there, captured just fine. Let's move on to one that you might have trouble with. So like a dark color. For example, like dark color like this blue here.
All right, so for example, here's our blue surface, and if you try to do a capture on this kind of color, it might have some issues. So maybe it's too dark, maybe it's too bright, maybe it's got a pattern, maybe it's a funky color. Yeah. Whatever it is, it might throw off the camera that's trying to capture, and it's just gonna maybe make some of your blocks like a weird color. So that's not really what you want.
No. So another thing about tip number 5 here is that cake that we've been working with has blocks in the corners, so you might have more issues with your colored surface, like a light surface like this, if you have something like Johan here, where there's not a lot of blocks filling out the corners. All right, so you'll see it like maybe if you're a little further out here. So we'll get in, and you can see it's having a hard time finding my board. You think like, oh, I can see all 4 corners.
Yeah, what's happening is the white table is actually making the exposure on the camera kind of go darker, which makes the black on the corners kind of just look like all black, and you can't see the definition of those individual blocks.
Yeah. So you want to, you can, if that's the only space you're on, you can scoot the board. You can scoot a little closer, see if that'll work, or just move the board to a different spot.
Yeah.
All right. So now tip number 6, last tip, is if you're having trouble with your capture, there's these cool little adjustments you can make. So you see these little light bulbs pop up where you can adjust the brightness or the color warmth, because it's gonna try to figure out automatically what you can do. But let's change our setup here. So this color here is what a lot of lamps are in people's houses.
Yeah, we've changed our studio lights here to kind of look like what your living room might look like, a little more warm. So let's see what it does.
So you can see things start to change.
So it's changing the color.
You might capture it, and it's maybe it's been daytime, so it's having a hard time adjusting to the color temperature because you've got these warm lamps on and these cool lights coming in from the window, and you can tap on this little guy here.
Yeah, in the top left there, tap on that light bulb
until it gets just
right, until it looks right.
Bam.
Yeah, that'll fix all of the kind of weird colors that might be mixing in your room.
And then if it's a little dark in there, you can adjust this brightness here as well.
Handy. Yeah.
So like you can see like it might have been reflecting a little bit of different light here, thinking these whites were purple, and then bam, looks great. Now it matches exactly what our board looks like.
Well, now we still look weird.
We still look weird.
Should we fix ourselves?
Let's fix the lights.
All right. That's much better. Okay, I feel like we're back to our correct color
normal selves, not so warm.
Whew. All right.
Looked like we had a skin condition maybe.
We did, yeah. Well, bonus tip.
This is
like tip number 7. Bonus tip.
Graphics.
Something that you might not realize is that your board gets a little smudgy just from just kind of handling it with your fingers, and the capture actually does a lot better when the board is nice and clean. So some of the fingerprints and stuff like that you might not really notice when you're just kind of playing with your board.
But if you were paying attention to the earlier tips with the glare or anything like that, it would reflect off differently into your board.
All that shows up. So you might want to just clean off your board if you've been playing with it for a while. Make sure it's
eating some chips.
Yeah, or some cake.
Yep,
and you got some smudgy
cake greasy.
I mean,
I guess you could get some icing on there.
Yeah, it's got some oil in it.
You want a clean board.
Yeah.
All right, so if you've been having some problems with your capture, hopefully some of these tips have helped you out.
Yeah, that's right. Happy creating. Thanks for watching. See you next week.
All right, this week's featured game can be found on the infinity wall at coordinates 987, 653.